time. It is currently Wednesday, April 13th, 2023. And today marks 3 years since the passing of my brother. And it is unbelievable sometimes when the thoughts come to my head like 3 years, and I do the math and I'm like, it's 3 years. But that's just the thing with time. Time just keeps going, and it just keeps going. So today's video is also a podcast because I wanted it to be a special podcast as a tribute to my brother, and I'm doing the video and the podcast at the same time, just in reflection to everything that unfolded and certain key moments. So yeah, let's talk. Unlike other videos that I do, this is very awkward, but it's also necessary because I haven't really spoken about this topic publicly. Majority of the conversations are just with like family members, so I don't even know where to start. Like it's the anniversary, and as much as I like positivity and embracing life for all that it is, I also get reminded real quickly that a death happened, and it's not something I take lightly. So the processing of emotions, they happened, they continue to happen, they'll take a lifetime of happening. I choose to live in remembrance and happiness and in reflection to everything that I got to experience with my brother. I love life to its fullest, and I've always imagined that when we're older, like, we're all just gonna hang out, our kids are gonna hang out, and we're all gonna have a happy old time. And I pictured a whole future of greatness, and he's someone who I knew would go very far in life, not just because he's my brother, but if you look at him from an outside perspective, he's a very thoughtful individual, and he's super smart. If you've had a chance to be around him, you know that when you're with this kid, it's either you came in with what you knew, but you left the conversation mind blown, and you would have to go elsewhere to go and find certain information, because some of the things he would say were just so outlandish, and it's like they turn out to be either factual or in theory. And the conversations that you'd have with him, like, he's big into like psychology, and when it comes to studying psychology or even just the world as a whole, he's into theorizing, whether it's coming from all different philosophers. Like, he didn't just use biases and say, I'm going to listen to this philosophy and not the other. Like, no, he encompassed all that was to physiology, psychology, all sorts of teachings. And it was nice to see, because there are a few people like him out there, but there aren't many. And so to have a family member who's like this, it brought a lot of intelligent conversations in the home. And I got to, here, let's just move this recording. Yeah, I don't want to have to edit anything, to be honest, but I'm gonna have to. But anyway, all the conversations that he had were just ultra smart, beyond his years. Um, he liked talking about anything that would challenge the regular mind. He was open to a lot of art. It didn't matter which style of art, like, he just embraced all of it. And to top it off, he was really good at all art. So that's also a really cool thing that he had. And then when it came to writing, like, he wrote a lot. And sports, he was really good at sports. Video games, good at them. Talking, good at talking. Staying quiet, sometimes for way too long. He didn't like washing dishes. He didn't like house chores. He would rather obviously do other things, like you see most people say about creative minds. It's like chores are the last things on their minds, and that's why most creative people, or even architectures, they say, are a bit messy, or their lives just seems all over the place. Because I mean, look at their minds. They're not rigid. They're very, very, like, fluid and constant learning. And it just, I don't know what it would take for a person to just have like a bland life, because I don't live that life. My brother didn't live that life, but he had a way of embodying someone that didn't seem like they were from this time, yet he was from this time. Like, he was born in 1998. There's just so much about him that I could talk about, but I'm like, I don't even know where to start. And I just realized I didn't write anything down, because usually I write notes when I'm going to do a podcast, but like, I didn't write anything down because it's usually my reflection videos are just me going and talking about my day. But I had to make sure that I recorded this before we head to the cemetery to go visit him, because I don't know how my emotions are going to be after, and I'm most likely not going to record anything, because if you know me, I'm a very emotional human being. And yeah, thoughts and thought patterns, thought processing, empathy, super emotional. And sometimes I look at my siblings and I'm like, I'm glad that I grabbed, or I guess they grabbed a few things from me, but I grab a lot of things from them too. Um, they're loving siblings. And I think one of the main reasons why we've been strong through this process is because we're very, I guess, understanding that these things happen, and accepting that is a process that will happen regardless, and we have no control over it. So part of the things that happened, whether it was like the spiritual parts that happened leading up to him passing, or the physical things that happened, like, all of it, we just have this strong sense of togetherness and, I guess, connectivity, because we're very connected as siblings. We have ways of engaging in activities together that, or even in conversations, to be honest. I noticed that not all siblings have what I have with mine. So, and I think it also stemmed from the fact that I was, or I am, an older sibling, and therefore the self-appointed manager of the house. So I'm always in people's businesses, just like any other manager, any job. And I get a chance to um, practice motherhood through the youngins. And it's taught me a lot. And I'm glad that I get to be an older sister because I get a chance to learn what it's like to be a mother without having the baby. I learn what it's like to love unconditionally. I learn a lot of things that I don't think I would have learned if I wasn't the oldest in out of all my siblings. So there's a lot of connection that we have, and as life keeps moving, I'm just thankful that I've been able to be a big sister to my brothers. I love how with Shad, like, even though he was so young, he knew so much, and I learned so much from him. A lot of my learning came from either helping him Google something when we weren't allowed to use a computer. Sometimes I look back and I think all the things that he knew and the things that he needed to know pretty much existed in him and his spirit. But because we weren't always allowed on the internet, he couldn't really harness the things that he wanted to learn. So sometimes I would let him go on the computer when my parents went home, and I would let him Google stuff, and I would also see things. And believe it or not, at 9, 10 years old, like we were, well, he was 10 at the time, I was already 14, but we were looking up conspiracy theories and talking about the metaphysical world. And I just remember him being so deep into the Illuminati, and we thought the government was going to come and take our computer, and that we're going to get in trouble because one day he clicked on a link that talked about how it was what was it? Secret hidden knowledge of the Egyptian pyramids. And they had this picture of the pyramids and the Sphinx. And I remember, I don't really recall all of it, but it had to do with like, oh my god. It was along the lines of the ancient knowledge from Africa was suppressed by Western teachings because they wanted to take intelligence away from the African people by brainwashing them into believing that the Western oh my god. Oh yeah. At 9 years old, and even him googling these things, like uh, eventually we learned to just use Google for school homework, but even in that, we used to go deep into our searches. And sadly for me, my searches became like, rather than philosophy, there were conspiracy theories. And it came to a point where I was so deep into these, I don't even go that far anymore with conspiracies, but it took years for me to learn to kind of walk away from them. But because he had the philosophy side and he had all of this, and he also did his first fears of psychology in school, so he was learning so much. And when it came to like that traded knowledge, I found that I should obviously take his side of learning rather than my side. So eventually, as a wise person, he gave me a warning to get off the internet and start reading books. So he had all the books, you name it. It didn't matter if it was hard to read or not, but he would always interpret them for us. He had Nietzsche going, he had Aurelius, but he had who was that one guy? Oh, he loved Plato. Um, his one book from high school, it was like The Social Contract. He used to read that book religiously. The Alchemist, like those are the main ones that I remember. The other ones were just too intricate for me, and I honestly never even touched them. But the more that I noticed just how intelligent he was and how far he was going in life, the more that I appreciated his brain, because at his age, I was into conspiracy theories, where at his age, he could differentiate conspiracies, theories, and real life examples and kind of like merge them together. Where for me, it was just like conspiracy theories and then nature. There was no in between. So I never really learned psychology at all until like, even until now, to be honest. Like, I'm learning about psychology and I'm like, I didn't know any of this stuff existed before. But hey, I had the outlet, I had all of the information, I just didn't know how to harness it. Yet his brain power had all of that. And without trailing on, like, I love my brother and I miss him every day. Every time I learn something new, I'm just like, man, if he was here, like, I'd probably know more because he'd have a way to explain it in a more intellectual way because I'm not articulate. And I find that it's harder sometimes to go through material without a person that, you know, is also into the same thing. And so I just have to learn on my own, I guess. And that's all I've been doing. That's all I've been doing is learning on my own. Yeah, life has a way of throwing curveballs at us, and I just I felt lost because I didn't know how to swerve some of them, and I can't blame a person's passing for my lack of knowing how to handle life. So a lot of the things that I'm learning even as an adult is just by myself, through myself, and then looking outward to like communities and how they deal with things, other places in the world, how they deal with things. Overall, I'm just glad that I have like a strong connection with my community and my people, and we get to have, you know, our love, and that's all I can say is what more can we really wish for than to just have love. But yeah, I don't really have much to say, but I want to write a letter and have it be the letter that I read for him, because talking about this is difficult for me. Obviously, especially for my reflection video, because like I said before, it's usually happy times, but here I am. Like, it's really difficult. So I'm still finding ways of processing things, writing things down, going for walks, living in his memory, and that's all one can do. But I'll just end this year because I don't know. I don't know what more to say. I have a lot to say, but I can't. And I'm just happy that I got my brother, and I know that he's in heaven with all the other angels. And I know that he's at peace. He's at peace because this realm of the physical body really, I don't know. I truly believe in the spiritual body, so I don't really have much to say about our physical selves. So, in the spiritual realm, he is dwelling and he is arriving, and that's all that I could ever wish for. And therefore, I will end this here. And I think I totally just X'd out my. Come on. Come back. Yeah. We've been recording for 20 minutes, so I really have to stop. Oh, I'm gonna leave the house and go visit him. I will talk to you another day. Peace be upon you. Be the best you that you absolutely can be. We'll see you in another video. And even though I'm not doing songs for the podcast anymore, I still have to give out shout out for songs. And today's song will be Jesus Walks by Kanye West. Because if you know my brother, you know his love for Kanye West. And that's one of the best songs that we jam out to anyway. So stay at peace and be blessed. And we'll talk to you later.